The Dragoon Mountains in the American desert Southwest have a spectacularly haunting quality. It is a land sacred to and prized by the Apache Indians who once lived there. Indeed, so precious was this area to the Apache that they became the region's greatest warriors, protecting it from Spanish, Mexican, and finally American invaders. And one of the greatest warrior chiefs was the Chiricahua Apache leader Cochise. When the Spanish conquistadors traveled to the New World, the desert Southwest was occupied by the descendants of the Anasazi. They were modern Pueblo Indians that include the Zuni and Hopi. Sometime between 900 and 1400 AD, they were joined by hunter-gatherer immigrants from present-day Canada, the Navajo, and Apache. While the Navajo moved towards an agricultural economy, the Apache remained skilled nomadic raiders. When Spanish settlers arrived at the end of the 16th century, their homesteads quickly became targets for Apache raiders. For the next 250 years, the Apache were never defeated by the Spanish or the Mexicans. Therefore, in 1848, following the defeat of Mexico by the U.S. in the Mexican-American War, the Apache claimed the defeated Mexicans could not cede the Apache lands to the Americans. At first, relations between the Apache and the Americans went smoothly. But when tensions arose between the two groups, a great warrior chief emerged, Cochise. In the beginning, Cochise was the region's greatest advocate for peace. That changed in 1861.
In late October of 1860, Coyotero Apaches raided John Ward's ranch, which was located on the very southern border of Arizona, across from Old Mexico. They stole his livestock, and they stole his 12-year-old stepson, who became later known as Mickey Free.
Cochise was wrongly blamed for the raid by Lieutenant George Bascom. Cochise and his father-in-law, Mangus Coloradas, vowed to drive the whites from Arizona. They raided ranches, mining camps, and mail coaches, virtually halting all immigration into the area. Then in 1862, General James H. Carleton marched 1,800 men from California to New Mexico. Cochise and Mangus gathered together the largest single force of Apache warriors ever assembled, over 700 men, and laid a trap at Apache Pass for Carleton.
The first advance guard of about 120 or so men of the California Infantry under Lieutenant Thomas Roberts approached the pass. Without warning, suddenly shots were fired from near the spring and from the mountainsides on both sides of the pass. Roberts couldn't dislodge the Indians. They were firing from all around him. He backed off into the valley a bit.
After this fight, Cochise and his men proved unconquerable, continuing their guerrilla tactics, never giving up, and never being forced to surrender from their stronghold in Arizona's Dragoon Mountains. Then in 1872, Tom Jeffords, a frontiersman, arranged a peace conference between Cochise and U.S. General Oliver O. Howard. Cochise agreed to stop fighting and kept the peace until his death 2 years later. In the end, Cochise was buried somewhere in these mountains he loved. He was the only great American Indian warrior chief to die free and absolutely unconquered.